Middlekauff! Hey! Recording this on Free Agency Tuesday live on YouTube. Hello, everybody. Or as John likes to say, reporting for duty.
Happening to my people.
We salute you.
What is cracking, homies?
Not a lot, John, according to the free agency tracker, but that's okay. We're here to be some of what's happening. We are what's happening. You look good, by the way.
You know, I got my Buck Mason sweatshirt on, guy, and it looked good, feel good, play good, as Dion used to say.
If you are on the podcast listening to this, the description has our YouTube link. So go check out our YouTube page. If you're watching this YouTube live or after the fact, great. That's awesome. If you enjoy it, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you're here right now, hit that thumbs up. We appreciate that a lot. And you can check out our podcast. That is down in the description below, as well as some of the links to our sponsors, which we also appreciate very much. We'll start with the show with a comment today from YouTube, John. This is from Bobby Boucher, who says, whoever played their hand worse, Napoleon invading Russia in the winter, or Kyle and John thinking they could hold on to Jimmy G until the last second and get a second-round pick? That's what all the history buffs are asking right now.
Yeah, my world history, you know, Mr. Best, former offensive lineman, UC Davis. Do you have him too at Davis High School?
I had Mr. Best. What a great guy.
I probably didn't listen well enough. I really didn't, because I notice sometimes when I'll watch a history documentary, and that's putting it pretty strongly, when I will stumble upon watch like 15, 20 minutes, I'll realize stuff that I was definitely told as a young child about World War I, World War II, Vietnam, the Korean War. I didn't listen very well.
New information to you.
Yes. But
Crimea.
Mr. Best tried. Yeah. You know.
You said to me yesterday, I don't think it was we did a YouTube only live stream and then put out like a 20-minute podcast on Monday, in addition to our podcast that went on Sunday. And I don't remember if you said it on the live stream or if you just said it to me, which was, when are we going to have somebody like do an about face, agree to something, and then back out, Josh McDaniels, Colt style? We did have the Randy Gregory handshake agreement with Jerry Jones. You know, a man is his word, a man's only as good as his word and his handshake. And maybe it was COVID. They did a fist bump and not a handshake. I don't know. But
what did Jerry tell the owners when they accepted the CBA in 2011? I think his quote was, my granddad used to say out in Texas, we got problems when the chickens start fucking the owls.
Oh, yeah.
And guys, the chickens are fucking the owls. And all these rich guys had no clue what he was talking about. I still don't really know what he meant. I think he just meant, like, this is pretty crazy and we should accept because this is stealing, basically. And it clearly was. They took them to the cleaners.
Yeah. Well, he tried to sneak in a little weed clause in Randy Gregory's contract. And I love the way I heard it said on NFL Network. So his agent took him to Denver. Like, well, wait a second. Randy didn't get to decide then? His agent was offended or Randy was offended? Who was mad about it? Randy or the agent? I always hate shit like that. Like, the Jags, they're handing out big money to get people to come. So players are taking their guys to Jacksonville, or agents are taking their guys to Jacksonville. As if, like, they're just in the back with the shades closed. They don't see they're on the way to Jacksonville.
Yeah, Christian Kirk and Brandon Sheriff are like, you take me wherever you want. You can take me. If USFL's paying, take me there, homie. Like, give me a break.
Hey, can we God bless Brandon Sheriff, by the way? Can we say a word for Brandon Sheriff? A lot of you might be wondering why we're talking about Brandon Sheriff. At least Christian Kirk got to play in some big games for the Arizona Cardinals. Brandon Sheriff just got, I think he got, what did he get, $40 million from the Jags, something like that?
Mm-hmm.
So far, his career is Washington football team, Jacksonville Jaguars.
The Commandos football team, Commanders, did host Tom Brady in his first year for Tampa in the playoffs, remember? So he did get a playoff game at home against Tampa. Was that a
7-win commies or an 8-win commies?
Yeah, that was not a great commie team, but remember Heineke gave the Buccaneers all they could handle there on Saturday afternoon.
Right. So Brandon Sheriff, get your money. God bless you. I hope you get a third team out of that, or the Jacksonville's good in 3 years or something. Careers aren't long, and you just, you know.
No.
If it all ends and it's like football, he's doing like his Zoom background and it's like football team jersey, Jags jersey. Pretty impressive. I understand, man. You got to get your money. But, yeah, DJ Chark's going to the Lions. So he's got a Jags-Lions DJ Chark's combo there. But Chark's, I think, was a 1-year, $10 million contract because he was hurt last year.
Yeah.
So Chark's, great name. Still one of my favorites names. Zay Jones, what the hell? Did you see that contract?
I thought it was a lot of money, the headline I saw. You know, and in fairness to Zay Jones, I thought he made some plays last year.
Well, he did, but like the Jags just signed Christian Kirk. They have Laviska Shenault. Yeah. They have what's his name? The other guy. I mean, hey, look, Keenan. If you just got to surround Trevor with talent, John. That's what the Jags are doing.
Well,
here.
Anytime you can build around Zay Jones and Christian Kirk for $60 million guaranteed, you got to do it. So
they are so deep in their 4-5 receiver spots, John, in Jacksonville.
Let Balky cook, bro. Let Balky cook.
Frankie on the stream says Jacksonville going all the way this year.
You want to put future odds on them? MyBookie.ag, promo code HAM1.
Well, I mean, I know what you got to start with, John, is the My Bracket contest in MyBookie.ag, promo code HAM, and the number 1. MyBookie.ag, HAM, and the number 1. March Madness is here. It actually, as we record this on Tuesday, it actually begins with the first 4 games, Texas Southern and A&M CC. Do you know what the CC stands for?
Country Club?
Ooh, close. Corpus Christi. And then Indiana, Wyoming in the evening. But don't worry. You still have a couple of days. The selections for the My Bracket contest at MyBookie.ag, promo code HAM1, close on the morning of March 17th. Here's how it works. You predict winners in each round of the MyBookie My Bracket contest for a chance to win a Bitcoin, a Doodle NFT, currently valued at over $50K, and over $100,000 more in cash prizes. So when you sign up with HAM1, you get a free entry into the My Bracket contest right now.
You know, I had brought up the idea if we should sprinkle some teams to win. I just had another idea. What if we just we got $266 in the hopper because we just randomly put a bet on UCLA over the weekend, which I love the value. They were held. They had a 8-point lead in the second half. So turns out Arizona's really good. Now they're beside Gonzaga, have the second best odds to win the national championship. What if we just use the money to bet a game or two around? So basically, instead of wasting it, because if your team gets knocked out, but if we bet $250 and we just take an underdog around. So Colorado State versus Michigan, not a crazy 10-1 underdog.
I like Colorado State.
So boom,
Nico Medvedev,
250 on Colorado State.
Gottlieb's a big Nico Medvedev guy.
Yeah, then so we win, and then we just figure out another underdog to take the following round, and just kind of do it that way.
Yeah, San Diego State. I like it. San Diego State Creighton. I don't know if it's an underdog, but number 1.
What about this game? I think one of the play-in games in Dayton, Ohio, is Bryant Wright State. Bryant has the leading scorer in the nation. He's like Jimmer Fredette, little white guy, just scores a lot.
Yeah,
but I don't know anything about those games. But they're a plus 140 underdog. You rather have Colorado State versus Michigan or Bryant versus Wright State? Because I'll place a bet on either one of them right now.
They're what underdogs?
Well, Colorado State's a 2.5-point underdog, so we could just get a money line at plus 125. Bryant is a 3.5-point underdog, and they're plus 140. It's almost 1.5 to 1.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to making what's today? Wednesday interesting. Wednesday afternoon at 3:40 on True TV.
Well, exactly. So we win the Bryant bet, and then boom, we take the winnings and we put it on Colorado State the following day. That would be the plan of attack.
Yeah.
But the Bryant thing's a little, I mean, we know nothing about Bryant, right?
Well, you just told me something.
Well, I know this guy's the leading scorer in the country. People are saying this guy can really fill it up.
Rothstein?
Yeah, I've just heard, him and Gottlieb have both mentioned the guy.
Yeah, I don't need much more than that, John. MyBookie.ag, promo code HAM and the number 1. Get after it, and we can do the same. By the way, also brought to you by Manscaped. Manscaped.com. Promo code HAM. Get it. How fast does your nose hair grow? Manscaped.com, promo code HAM, get you 20% off and free shipping when you use the code HAM at manscaped.com. That sound is, I got to tell you, makes my legs tingle.
Lawnmower
sounds a
4.0?
little better. Yeah. The skin-safe technology on the Lawnmower 4.0, critical. Waterproof, critical. The premium 7,000 RPM with quiet stroke technology, critical. The wireless charging system, I mean, these are all the elements that you need to win in March, John. The convenient dock wirelessly charges, much like a veteran point guard and an NBA player and experienced coach. The Weed Whacker delivers in March.
Do you know what I use? And I don't know, do you use this when you're on the road? Is the travel bag, the Manscaped travel bag is fantastic. It's so easy. You just throw in a toothbrush, throw in deodorant, you throw in, for me, the little mini shaving cream with the shaver so I can shave on the road, my dome. Love the Manscaped travel bag. Those are fantastic. Recommend it. Good material. It's thick. It's not like a flimsy little cheap one.
That's right. Well, I mean, you had the Weed Whacker there. You had the
4.0.
You had the 4.0 there. You can just feel them. It's solid, good, well-made, quality stuff.
It really is.
Yeah. So right now, the Lawnmower 4.0 with the 4000K LED spotlight. These are the right tools for the job, John. Okay.
They really are.
The warmth, summer is coming. Get yourself ready.
Well, now summer's never going to end. Daylight savings time.
Has that been approved by I think it's supposed to be approved by the House.
I think it passed the House. Maybe it's got to go to Congress. But
Mr. Best on line one.
I'm
just a bill. Maybe vice versa.
Again, just not proud to say it. Cheated a little bit in high school. I do think that dramatically changes life for us. That extra light for a couple months. I mean, you talk about if you like to golf. That's a big transition there.
How do the farmers feel about this? This is for the farmers. This is about them.
Yeah, most of the farmers, by the time September, October come in, they're fucking mailing it in.
I'm for it. It'll mean the clock in my car will be right every month, every
Same.
part of the year.
Mine's been wrong for the last 6 months.
Mine got right today, John.
Me too.
All right. 20% off free shipping. Code HAM. Unlock your confidence. Always use the right tools for the job. So a lot of people, I'm looking at some of the comments here. I've been seeing it. People are getting frustrated with their teams. Why aren't we spending? And we can mean a variety of teams. People are upset with free agency right now, John. And they're not, no one's signing Calvin Johnson and Randy Moss, apparently.
Why are you not signing Tony Baselli and Ray Lewis included with Ed Reed as a package deal? It's like, guys, most of these names that are signed, let's be honest, you've never heard of. I've been saying over and over, you pay for good player, you pay premiums. We'll talk about the guy the Niners signed to a big deal. Like, I don't think most 49er fans know much about him. Now, it doesn't mean it's a bad thing, but you overpay to get guys. You just do. That aren't Khalil Mack, Aaron Donald, and Devontae Adams. Those guys get extended. The thing with the NFL, unlike baseball, we were talking about this before we hopped on. Like, if Matt Olson wanted to get paid, he had to change teams. If you play for the Rays, if you play for the Pirates, you play for certain teams, you have to leave to get your amount of money. That is not the case with the NFL. If you are good, that team will extend you. The reason Jamal Adams, now it turns out he might not be as good, and Jalen Ramsey got traded is because they kind of made a stink and demanded to get traded, right? Most teams, Jalen Ramsey teams would try to keep. So it's just the players that become available, you're just paying premiums. I would say on average, remove the Jags, you're paying an extra $3 to $4 million a year than what they would get if they normally just extended with their team. Because most of them are not all-pro guys, right? So they're not getting top of the market if they extend. They would just get the team-friendly extension, but they're still become rich. So all these players are getting, J.C. Jackson, Belichick said, see ya. Got $40 million. The Patriots were never going to give him $20 million a year or 18 or whatever he got.
Yeah, I think one that will be really interesting is Stephon. What is Stephon Gilmore's money? I think is going to be fascinating, right?
He's an age guy, though, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Once upon a time, that is a name that everybody knows, but he is not at the top tier of free agency right now, given what you just said, given age and recent injury history.
Well, he's been used to making a lot, so it's probably hard when he starts hearing numbers that are lower than what he was used to making, right? Someone goes, hey, we'll sign you 2 years, $25 million and guarantee every penny. He's like, just a year ago I was making 18, 20, right? So it's hard to come to grips. And the NFL, I would say different than the other sports, pivots fast. It's like, oh, he's 32 now. You just don't pay.
Or one injury, one half and what I know he's healthy, but he didn't play the
torn quad, right?
Yeah.
Makes you nervous.
So, and the other part,
he's got to run. That's kind of important.
I'd argue this. I think it's been pretty good free agency to this point because it's included. First of all, it's included Aaron Rodgers back. Russell Wilson got traded.
Yep.
Yeah, it's yesterday's news. Somebody signed somebody interesting now. So I mean, just that alone, I think was
Khalil Mack, Amari Cooper. The big names all got traded, right?
Yeah.
Because those names don't hit free agency. Like Amari Cooper, to me, would have been by far the biggest name in this free agent class, right? Of all the names that I've seen sign.
Yeah. I mean, did Chandler Jones sign yet?
No.
That's a pretty big one.
But I mean, again, him and Gilmore are over 30 former Pro Bowlers who expect a lot of money. So they're in their own little tier.
If Mike Williams had hit free agency in this class, funny thing is he's kind of how old is Mike Williams?
Probably 26, 25. I mean, not that old.
You think
he's been in the league 5 years. I bet he's 27.
Maybe he's not as old as I think. Yeah, he turns 28 this year. Okay. Amari Cooper would have got what, like $65 million guaranteed in free agency?
No, I don't know.
He got
if he
60
got
the last time, but
I don't know if he would have got that much. But he would have got 45. He would have got a several-year deal. I mean, Amari's sneaky, not very old.
100 million on the stream says if Gilmore signed with the Niners, y'all wouldn't be speaking of age. I love of age.
Amari Cooper's 27 years old. He's pretty young.
Well, you know who's younger than I thought is Honey Badger. He'll turn 30, I think, in May. Honey Badger's had like this whole career before he's turned 30. It's pretty. I mean, he's still a solid player, John.
Yeah, I got my intel. Because I text about Ward, try to get some information, and then I said, well, you guys just replaced, obviously, Eric Reed's brother. Is it DJ Reed, Stanford?
No.
No, DJ Reed's the corner. It's
two E's and DJ Reed. Justin Reed, one I.
Justin Reed. Part of it is Justin Reed's just younger. And Honey Badger, is just, he's still good, but the arrow now no longer even points neutral. It kind of leans down. So they gave Reed some money. He's
3 years,
$10 million
$31
a year.
3 years, $31.5 million.
And part of replacing Honey Badger is Honey Badger hangs his hat on being really smart. Well, they're replacing him with a really smart player, right? This guy's brilliant, I guess. The Reed family, I remember Eric was LSU guy, but he was Stanford level. Like Eric was really, really intelligent. So that's the key to like the Chiefs thing. If you're going to replace a smart player, that's an underrated part about free agency. When you do let a guy walk, do you replace him with another intelligent player? Because if you had a really smart player at a position that's not like guard, but if it's like center, middle linebacker, safety, obviously quarterback, you can't then replace that guy with a dumb guy because then you lose double whammy. It's like he might not be as good of a player and he doesn't know what's going on. So, like, to me, when you get centers, like, he better be smart. When you get middle linebackers, he better be smart. When you get safeties, he better be smart. Like, pretty clear you watch Jimmy Ward, like, Jimmy Ward has his physical deficiencies, but I always feel like Jimmy Ward knows what's going on.
Yeah.
You need intelligent players at certain positions. There's just no way around it. Like, ultimately, like, I can get away with it wide receiver. Remember what was a use check? Like, Brandon, come in motion. Like, you just, other people can help you out. Just get open. Obviously, you want, Devontae, people that are brilliant, but not everyone is just, you can get by with talent. I think safety's impossible to get by with talent. Like, you're just kind of out there by yourself. You got all these things coming at you. You got a lot of moving parts.
Who said this? Maybe Charlie Weiss said that. Maybe it was Weiss who I heard say this a few months ago. It was a former coach for sure who said the first key to football is it's a chess match between the safety and the quarterback. I thought it was a really simple way to distill like what's happening on the field, right? Because when you are the safety, what you're talking about now, you are making decisions based on the other, maybe the smartest guy on the other side of the field.
And
maybe not smartest isn't the key.
You can manipulate him too a little, right? He can manipulate you. You can manipulate.
Yeah, except
him.
That's right. Both of your coaches are using you to manipulate each other.
Yeah. So you can't have a guy that's in no man's land.
And I would say it's probably been an underrated part, specifically of the 49ers. Maybe an underrated part of the Chiefs is they've changed that position over time. The Niners have had stability at safety for several years now.
Yeah, long time.
Both
really
safety spots.
Really, since you and I have been together, right? For a decade now, they've had just pretty consistent safety play, even starting with Golston and Whitner. Obviously, different style, but those two guys knew what to do.
Good point.
Then transition into Eric Reed to Jimmy Ward to Tart. Like, they've just had, like, to me, could you get Honey Badger cheap? Like, to me, I would be interested in Honey Badger, putting him next, especially if they are kind
he's
of
cheaper than Tart?
irreplaceable. Yeah, just if they are the transition between the two guys. Because I would say the Niners safety, I don't have to have a guy Cam Chancellor in the box, and I think a lot of the league has gone away from that. It's why Jamal Adams feels so out of place. It's like, why don't they just play linebacker? It's like you need guys to cover now, and Honey Badger can do that. But you see the kid from Utah got broken off by the Ravens, Marcus Williams, who had obviously the famous play to Stephon Diggs. But I think he is known as an intelligent, like everyone has a fuck up, right? I mean, Ray Lewis fucked up, Reggie White fucked up. But
what
I
was
think
Reggie's big fuck up?
I don't know. I'm just sure he blew an assignment. Probably, maybe not. But I would say as a DB, like every DB is fucked up. That just happened to be devastating. 50, 40 million people are watching. But I've always heard I think that guy's a really good player.
Yeah, Utah produces smart guys. Like, I would bet on Utah guys.
Especially their DBs, right? They usually know what they're doing.
Hefe KC says Honey Badger wants $15 million.
That's a problem.
Per year? That's Trubisky 2-year money. Trubisky, by the way, John, the money, as you said on the stream yesterday, when the money's not out right away, it's usually not really impressive. And the 2 years, $14 million is Mitchell's number in Pittsburgh.
Because it hit me this morning. I'm like, I still haven't seen Mitchell's money. So I typed it in Twitter, and I just saw 14.5. So I texted you. And I was thinking, like, that feels a little extreme, but it made more sense than you texting back. It actually 2 years, $14.5 million. So that means the $14.5 million is not all guaranteed. It's. Is this the slowest leak of all the contracts so far this year? Like, what the? How much did you pay him? Is it actually? Well, the guaranteed is 4.2. Like, is that what's going to come out?
Yeah, we'll find that one out in 2 weeks.
Has there been a slower leak of a contract than Trubisky so far? Every single contract comes out.
No, I think that's the slowest one.
Would it shock you if it comes out that the guaranteed is actually under $7 million?
That would surprise me, yes.
So maybe
I guess you're saying that it's like 14, year one, it's like 6, and year 2, it's 8, something like that.
But even if the first year is like 10, but I'm only guaranteeing you like 5, so if like something gets a little weird, I can cut you or something.
If Jimmy Garoppolo falls in my lap?
Yeah, I don't know if that's happening.
Good quarterback still available. So one of the things that happened on Tuesday morning, a flurry of news, John, when Jordan Schultz at 9:42 a.m. in the West, as they say in the news business, Deshaun Watson's meeting with the Niners per league source. That, what time was that? 9:42. So at 9:52, Matt Mayoko tweeted, the 49ers are, capital letters, NOT not, meeting with Deshaun Watson, a source just told me. 3 minutes later, Peter Schrager, the 49ers are not meeting with Deshaun Watson, no caps. And that ended quickly. And you and I started texting about it right away. My initial take was, I think Deshaun called them to see if they would be interested. And the question is, okay, they didn't meet with him. Should the 49ers have met with Deshaun Watson?
Well, just a bigger picture, you could say that they still, like, we've been lied to before. I'm going to take them at face value because they were really aggressive about getting the nose out there, like really aggressive. No one shoots down any rumors this time of year. It's not worth it. You don't have the energy. It doesn't truly matter. This is the first rumor that got shut down during free agency, and it got shut down fucking hard. Notice the Browns aren't shutting down any rumors about them being like.
Well, no, they're going to meet. They're meeting them today. The Browns,
but the Niners shot that down very fast. So, to me, there's still a percentage that they don't want it out there because if they can't, they don't pull the trigger, you tray. But to me, I think that I was going to say the boat has sailed. The story has sailed.
The ship has sailed.
The ship has sailed. I think it's just over. Like last year, I was told before the stuff came out and before obviously Trey Lance, the trade was made, the 49ers and Deshaun wants to come play for Kyle. Like he's very interested. It'd be one of the teams. And I think we had talked about that before. But ever since everything happened, and listen, we say it all the time, no one knows what's happened beside him and all the massage therapists that he was sleeping with. But regardless, whether he's guilty or innocent, he's a red flag guy moving forward. Period, point blank, end of story. Roethlisberger carried with him Lake Tahoe still to this day. Like, that's never going away. And part of drafting Trey Lance was you get this raw guy that you need to work with. There is no guarantee by any means. The likelihood that he's ever good as Deshaun Watson would be below 50%, right? Because most quarterbacks don't ever become as good as Deshaun Watson in the history of football. Like, he's already immediately like a top 5-6 quarterback. The majority of people that play the position never become a top 10 quarterback. They have talent, they don't have talent, well, regardless. But a huge reason you did this, and I think a way to talk Kyle into this, like you got this raw product you're going to work with, was the character stuff. And remember last year during the Colts thing that it came out that they have this special tag for special individuals, and they value character at the highest level of any NFL team. And it was two guys in the first round. It was Devontae Smith, who was known as like the leader of Alabama's program for like the last 4 years, and Trey Lance. So you're going to get in bed with a character guy who, again, it's all this stuff might go away, but the stories don't go away. Like, he was sleeping around with massage. Like, his judgment now is a question mark moving forward at a position where you need their judgment to be the number one thing. So you cannot, they're doing the right thing if they are telling the truth and not fucking with him. Well, I get why Deshaun Watson would be interested. Of course, he'd come here, they'd win, right?
Well, I think the Niners, if I were Deshaun Watson, the Niners would be my number one destination. That would be my preferred destination. If you said, okay, your options are the Saints and Dennis Allen, Matt Rule and the Panthers, the Colts and Frank Reich, which would be, it's not an option, right? Because
no.
they asked and the Texans said no. The Falcons, okay, I guess I know Arthur Blank. Atlanta would be.
But don't you think once the Niner thing is not an option, which will take him at face value, they say no, he starts getting desperate and he calls the Falcons because he'd rather just play in Atlanta, Magic City, the strip club, than the other two places?
Cleveland, I think, would be attractive based on Stefanski, but the Niners would be my number one. No? Okay, well, look, the Niners would be my number one. They just got
the city.
They just got Amari.
Yeah,
the city. They just got Amari.
They have good.
They're good on defense. It's a good team. Yeah. If we just, since you said this, you made me think of this. The report was the Niners are meeting with him.
Yeah.
Then the report was they're not meeting with him. But meeting with him and talking to him, are those the same thing?
You could Zoom.
Yeah, I would say a Zoom would be a meeting. I would say Kyle and John talk just like, somebody texted and somebody called like, hey, man, what's going on? That's not a meeting. That'd be talking to. Like, my point is there are semantics here that you could deny. We're not flying to meet him, but we are discussing whether or not we'd want to do it internally.
Well, again,
I'm just saying there's semantics.
You're allowed to have you're allowed to have a discussion.
100%.
Sure.
I'm just saying specifically not meeting with him doesn't, if we're playing devil's advocate here, doesn't necessarily mean not thinking about it.
I agree. I just, my overall take when it comes to these situations is you always got to be leery of what gets put out on both sides. That nothing is believable. Like we have, the teams have zero prerogative to tell anybody the truth beside what they're doing internally. Where the agents are the opposite, right? One thing is pretty clear that they're trying to drum up this crazy interest. And obviously, I think people, if he was a clean player, like the massage therapist, the interest would be outrageous. You wouldn't even need to use Twitter, right? Like, did you notice who didn't need to use Twitter? The Seattle Seahawks, right? Aaron Rodgers, the Green Bay Packers, they don't need to use Twitter. But Deshaun Watson, when you're a walking red flag and you got 22 people still suing you, the conversations on the other side, they're asking themselves, like, do we really want to do this? And then you see the only two teams that really are willing to like completely look past everything immediately are two teams like, do I even want to play there? And then you're desperate to go to the Niners, and even Atlanta, you're like, well, we get it, but we don't really, our quarterback situation, we're kind of stuck. To me, for the Niners, I don't think Houston would want Trey Lance. Not that they don't think he's a good player. I think they have something in Davis Mills. I think you would have to do a double whammy if they were interested. You'd trade Trey Lance, which I think would have immediate value, and you'd get a couple first-round picks. You would accumulate what you traded for him. and then you'd have to use that to trade the Houston Texans for Deshaun Watson. That's how, if they were to go down that road, that's what they would have to do. Do you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. And I do think you could get two ones for Trey. Carolina might do it.
Carolina might do it. Who knows? Who knows? I think it would be very, very interesting, some of these teams.
Yeah.
Hell, Washington could pivot in a heartbeat. Say, fuck it. We didn't think this guy would be available. Just cut Carson.
I think there's a big difference between going to get Tom Brady and having him play while Trey Lance waits and going to get Deshaun Watson and abandoning Trey Lance after a year, unless you don't think Trey Lance can play. But if you think Trey Lance can play, and you said this to me earlier, and I think you're right, just the odds, and this is not a reflection of Trey, the odds that first-round quarterbacks turn into a quarterback as good as Deshaun Watson it's under 50-50, right?
Yeah, in a vacuum, the football aspect of it, Deshaun has the advantage, right?
Yeah.
He's young and he's good.
The odds that you become that guy are low. So it has to be, to me, a direct reflection of what do you think? What do you guys think of Trey Lance?
Well, if I told you now,
I don't care so much about is Trey Lance ready to win a Super Bowl this year? Do you think he can become a really good player if coached by you? And then stay away from this.
If I told you right now that Trey Lance will become Deshaun Watson, but the Niners have to trade every single draft pick they have in this draft, would they do it?
Wait. Trey Lance would become as good as Deshaun?
Yeah, would you do not get any of your picks. They just all disappear. Would the Niners
so
sign
just
up
it's
for
like
that?
an invisible NFL tax. Your picks disappear, but in exchange, the genie makes Trey Lance as good as Deshaun Watson. Yes, you would do that.
Would it even take them more than 5 minutes to say yes? No.
Even all the comp picks, John? The comp gods?
Everything. You got to get rid of it all.
Some people in the stream are like, check out Pelisaro's Twitter. He released the comps are out. The Niners have, of course, 2 third-round comps.
I listen, I am someone who I don't even understand optics. I think they are the most meaningless thing going right now in our segmented society. I think they mattered a lot more 20, 30 years ago because everyone was consuming the same thing. You just think like what Twitter's saying. Yeah, 20% of society's on Twitter and 10% of that 20% or 10% of that 100% actually tweet. So, like, the majority of people, then the freak-out reaction is irrelevant. But this one, I do think decision-making at quarterback matters, and I question Deshaun Watson's decision-making.
I would add that I think there are a lot of things that get very overblown on Twitter. Clearly, if you just look around, you see a lot of people, a lot of corporations making decisions based on what will get them credit on Twitter. I think a lot of people make decisions based on that simple metric, and it's a mistake.
Major.
There are other things that are real, like real world controversies that are not just Twitter based. And I would say Deshaun Watson is in that real world category. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah. So in any event, that's that.
It would be an all-time pivot. It'd be a pretty crazy moment for these guys.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be crazy to get Brady. That's not a pivot. This would be a pivot to a guy who just didn't play all last year and might be suspended, and not like suspended for, deflating footballs.
Yeah.
So
I think it's a lock he gets suspended for at least 4 games. Yeah,
Big Ben got 6 and it got reduced to 4. Just whatever that's worth. I don't know how you compare the two things.
Remember Zeke got in a little trouble.
Yeah.
Remember he got
can you have Alvin Kamara and suspended for 4 games and Deshaun Watson suspended for 4 games, suspended for the same amount of games?
I mean, that's where the people on Twitter start screaming.
But I'm not even. I'm just saying you.
No, I know. I'm not. I don't know. It's a hard game to play.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to play you something because Deshaun, as it relates to Jimmy Garoppolo, is screwing things up for the 49ers. Take a look at. I was watching McAfee today. Look at this appearance by Rap Sheet. For those of you who are listening to this and can't see it, I'll describe it. We'll describe it for you afterwards. But watch this.
The Indianapolis Colts have done nothing, have the most amount of money. Everybody else is doing stuff. Who do you see moving today? Jimmy G, is he going to be on the move today? How about Stephon Gilmore?
Again, just for people watching. Watch Rap Sheet's reaction when McAfee says, Jimmy G, is he going to be moved today?
Going to be on the move today. How about Stephon Gilmore?
For those of you listening, he gives the I don't think so kind of head nod face grimace. Rap Sheet when asked about Jimmy.
How about Stephon?
So is that simply a result of Deshaun Watson screwing this thing up for the 49ers? Or were they going to be in this situation even Deshaun Watson wasn't interviewing with teams?
Yeah, I mean, there was a podcast that said that they had a second rounder on the table, and it got aggregated pretty heavily. That second rounder, if that second rounder is still on the table, I would, if anyone's listening to this with decision-making power over at Santa Clara, I would recommend you take that second rounder and fucking run. And even though they say it's now turned into a third rounder, I would also take that as well. Do whatever it takes to make this happen. It's starting to get a little weird. There's no doubt about it, and I think it's fair to say that the Deshaun Watson thing, like you alluded to, is impacting this heavily. Because you look at, I think the Saints are a team that flying a little under the radar for Jimmy Garoppolo, and obviously they're going to take Deshaun Watson over Jimmy Garoppolo if they can get him, right? They're all in. I think it's pretty clear, though, that it's coming out that he's hesitant to go. I think if Sean Payton was their coach, he'd probably be a New Orleans Saint. And I think a lot of people would be saying Deshaun would be crazy to not go with Sean Payton, the offense. I think Dennis Allen changes it dramatically for them. It's a little, in this instance, it's a little like college recruiting, and you go from Saban to just a random good coach. You know, I don't even know if this guy's good, but just a random, like, non-Power 5 guy that just got a sweet job. They'll be like, I don't know, right? And I think that's really hurting the Saints, but until he says yes, they're still going to tell themselves they have a shot. And Jimmy Garoppolo, a lot of people are saying that the Colts now are not as interested. Who knows? I mean, the Colts do not have a quarterback. Part of the reason, McAfee just can't even help it. He's kind of going fan there. Like, what the fuck are the Colts going to do? What are they going to do? Like, they do not have a quarterback. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what the Niners keep thinking. Like, they're going to get desperate. They're going to go with Mariota. Mariota was in their division when he got ran out of town, right?
Well, the Steelers made a decision to go with a $7 million quarterback who's just a bridge, right? Now, the Steelers are a little at a different place than the Colts are. Mike Tomlin's won a championship, right? The Colts have been building and building and building and building.
But in fairness, they haven't really been winning much lately.
Who?
In terms of when's the last time the Steelers won a playoff game?
They went to the playoffs this year. The Steelers, the Colts have been like, the Colts just lost to the Jags at the end of the regular season, got kept out of the play. So I think that my point is just the Colts are in a more desperate spot. So, okay, maybe. The Colts were willing to pull Phillip Rivers out of retirement during last season. So I think they would take I think they would take on Baker if the Browns got Deshaun. I think Baker would go to the Colts. If Deshaun would go to Atlanta, I think Matt Ryan would go to the Colts. Like,
I agree there.
I think Deshaun going to Cleveland would be bad for the 49ers because then it puts Baker on the market. And even though Baker, you could argue here's my thing with Baker, John. I could just see a team going, we're not going to pick up is he on his 5th-year option this year?
Yeah, he's going into it.
Fine. I'll just play him on his 5th-year option. I'd rather have Baker as my bridge quarterback than Jimmy, only based on the possibility that Baker can actually become a solid quarterback for me. Now, the problem with Baker is the same problem with Jimmy. He hurts his shoulder. He's hurt. He played last year hurt, right?
Surgery went well, according to Baker and Jimmy.
If you were the Colts, would you take Baker or Jimmy?
I think they really, you talked about it, how you often pivot with a coach or a specific quarterback. Asshole, nice guy, asshole.
That's true.
You're going to go from Carson Wentz to Baker. Now,
good point.
His 5th-year option, while quarterback money, not much, it is $18 million. Now, that's 9 less than Jimmy. But the one thing that we say Jimmy resonates with them is the character teammate stuff. I would say Baker would be pretty big question mark there. Not bad, but a little like Wentz, just something's a little off, right? They feel like completely different humans, but on a similar road of just like, yeah, it's not ideally the type guy we'd wanted. It's like, what's really bad about him? Like, nothing. It's hard to totally pinpoint and describe to you, but when you're just around it every day, It's one of those.
It's true. It's a very good point. And you would say the Niners went out of their way to keep Jimmy around for an extended period of time. The Browns are not doing that. Now, part of it is just they're coming to a point where you have to pay a young quarterback a lot of money, and they don't want to do it.
I think Baker's in a weird spot.
If you told the Browns Baker's your quarterback for the next 2 years for, I don't know, $38 million, would they just be like, well, yeah, whatever, okay. But the problem is that he's trying to get
38 total.
38 total, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like an $18 million quarterback.
Yeah.
Right, $19 million quarterback. Fine. I don't know. I I just think that there are a lot of teams there are a lot of dominoes here that Deshaun controls, and the Niners it's totally out of their control. And on top of that, Jimmy is a depreciated asset, even if Deshaun's not in the mix, because he had shoulder surgery, which in the end might hurt Jimmy and Don. If they delayed surgery to force a release, it could hurt them.
My only pushback on that, though, if he would have got surgery 2 days after the NFC Championship game, he still would be injured right now.
He wouldn't be close to rehabbing?
Yeah,
or he would be rehabbing?
So it was a month difference, and he's available potentially mid-July. So he would have been available mid-June. Like, that's when OTAs end. I just don't think he would have practiced in the spring regardless. I think it's an easy – I've heard a lot of people say that, and it makes sense when you say it, but when you really think about it from the date perspective –
So you're out on conspiracy theory surgery.
I'm not necessarily – I think it was kind of an FU, but I don't actually think it would have changed that much. I think they did it specifically as an FU kind of, or we're going to do it on my time, I'm going to go. But the actual logistics of it, it wasn't like 90 days where it's like, he would have been at worst ready like a couple weeks into OTAs. Like, I think he's out of OTAs regardless. Because we're not talking.
But there's a difference between getting traded and getting released. The problem is if you get released, you have to then go make up the money that you lost by not getting traded.
But my point is, though, if he had gotten the surgery a day or two after, he's still physically in the same situation today as of the day before. So like, what really does it? Really
so it makes the most sense to try
market?
And rehab and not get surgery. That does make sense to try and rehab it and never get surgery. Which most
might
people
not
would
be nefarious.
naturally want to avoid surgery at all costs anyway.
Yeah, I got a bum knee. I don't want to go under the knife.
Yeah. Well, I think the question is, how many meetings is Deshaun taking? Like when we talked about this on Monday, there was 2 meetings Monday night. He'll make a decision. Okay. Niners timeline, make a decision Tuesday. Things shake itself out. Now you got 24 hours to deal with Jimmy. But it's like Deshaun is begging somebody other than the Saints or the Panthers to want him. And now they're trying to drum up Atlanta. And even Atlanta, Atlanta's kind of complicated, right? Because Deshaun makes 30. If they trade Matt Ryan, what does that do to his dead cap?
I mean, it usually gets cut either in half or by a large percentage. Okay. But I just read that they restructured his contract, to push some money back. This was sprung on them. Like, I don't think they had any interest. Not that they wouldn't want him on their team, but they didn't think it was a possibility. And then, boom, he calls them because I think his back's against the wall a little bit. A little like the Niners and Jimmy Garoppolo, it feels like. Both these situations are the quarterback's not necessarily in the driver's seat.
Well, I'll tell you, it feels like we're at a point where, 1 p.m. Pacific on Wednesday, right? Free agency begins. You got to be under the cap. We've already seen the Niners restructure Dee Ford. They've waited this long. If Deshaun hasn't picked a destination by 1 p.m. Pacific Wednesday, which means that Colts, Browns, Saints, whoever, they're still waiting on Deshaun, which means that they're not trading for Jimmy, then I got to think the Niners might hold on to him for another 24 hours. You wait on a couple deals. You do a couple of those things like, how on college football signing day, guys sign, but they make the colleges not announced because they want to put the hat on during the All-American game like 2 weeks later. Maybe you agree to a couple deals with guys, but you don't sign it so you can stay under the cap and hope that by Thursday you can trade Jimmy because Deshaun has chosen. It kind of feels like they've held this long. I have a hard time seeing them releasing him 1 o'clock on Thursday or Wednesday, 1 o'clock on Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, if they're under the cap with him on the roster, I could see that. But how far are you willing to go? Like, are you willing to just hold on a couple extra days and then have egg on your face, basically? Because are you embarrassed to cut him tonight or tomorrow morning?
Well, there's no point in doing it tonight, right?
Because I think it's fair to say the Cowboys would have cut Amari Cooper if they wouldn't have found a trade. I think that's fair to say, right? They had to clear space for
Randy Gregory, John.
But do you agree with that? Like, Amari was going one way or the other.
Yeah, because he was, yes.
They just had to do it because they needed to re-sign some guys. They let other guys walk. Like the 49ers are, I do think that not feeling themselves, but they are trying to say to this, like, this guy has value. We're not just going to give him up, which we've said over and over. I think it's a risky way to operate at this point because now they would say, and if you're right, if you don't need his cap space to sign someone right now, and we ultimately have a couple trade targets with maybe some of our players in the league, what's the rush? If that's true, that's fine. But if it hinders your ability to do something, I think it's pretty moronic. And I think there is, relatively quickly, there is a peace of mind to, like, he's off the team, it's all on Trey. Right? You could argue, what's the difference if it doesn't hinder you to sign anyone Wednesday or Saturday, right? Beside, like, our social lives.
Yeah, and I don't think the Niners, I know, the tournament, I don't think the Niners care too much about that peace of mind.
I do think it matters once, like, guys are reporting, as Jimmy just reports and rehabs when Trey, that'd be a little weird.
I agree it's a little weird.
He
but
gave
you agree
his
that,
goodbye speech.
But would you agree that doesn't seem like that's high in the Niners priority list? Is we just got to have this guy out of the building? It doesn't seem like they think that way.
Not necessarily high like on their priorities out of the building, but I do think they know, like, there is no return to work with him on the team. Like, that'd be pretty questionable business, I think.
Return to work.
I just mean, like, if I tell
Office is back open.
Yeah, but in football, like, there as a date when guys just show back up, like, as a team, right?
Camp arm.
Wouldn't it be weird if he's just sitting there next to, like, I'm back, guys?
Mariota. They're like, oh, we gave number 10 to Charvarius, actually. Did you see Carlos Rodon, the guy that one of the pitchers the Giants signed, he wears 55? They're like, you going to wear 55? He was like, nah, I'm not going to wear 55. Like, out of respect for Lincecum.
I saw Bob say, after he said multiple motorcycle rides for Tatis, no more motorcycle rides for Fernando. Motorcycles are banned.
I would get everybody off a motorcycle, honestly, if I were them. I would tell guys no skiing. Like
I'd no pickup hoops.
No pickup hoops. None of that stuff. So I don't think this is so much about, I know I've seen a few people say this in the chat, like this is about pride for the Niners. I mean, it's definitely, I think
there's an element of
that. Well, there can't, absolutely. But I also think there is a hard, cold, we have a starting quarterback, and Jimmy Garoppolo is a starting quarterback. You agree with that?
Yes.
He's a starting quarterback. Yeah. So we have a starting quarterback. You're telling me we're going to get rid of a starting quarterback and get nothing in return? That just doesn't compute. That doesn't make any sense. No, we can't do that. That's a waste of an asset. I don't care if we get a fifth. Like, that is a waste of an asset. I could see them, like, it is wasteful. It is wasteful. And if we think we can get anything for him after his shoulder heals, maybe we would rather do that. As crazy as that sounds.
If he's on the sideline in a sling during OTAs, I think that's one of the craziest fucking things I've ever seen.
Yeah, it is.
I really do.
I agree. It's crazy.
They will get crushed. Like, you're holding on to something that might not be there.
I agree, and we talked about this the other day. I also think at the end of the day, I don't think that really would matter that much for them if they ultimately got what they were looking for out. If they got a pick out of it, at the end of the day, I don't. Part of that situation, if it came to that, would be a bet on your building. That, like, we can handle this. Yes, it's weird, but we can handle this. It would be weird. But
it just, why are you betting on your building on that? Like, that's unfair to put guys in situations. It's an uncomfortable league.
I would be shocked. I would be pretty surprised if it came to that, and I think it's weird. I don't think we'd look back on the season and go, man, Niners had a playoff team, and but the weirdness of the Jimmy situation.
I'd even argue it's not weird for, like, Juszczyk and Trent and Debo, like those guys. I think it's weird for the one guy that matters, and that's the quarterback. Puts him in a weird spot. Right?
Maybe Jimmy's not standing on the sideline with his sling. He's just not there.
Then it's like, what are we doing? The whole thing is it's gonna be.
Yeah,
it is officially weird if he's on the team come Monday at 1:00. It's officially weird.
I'd say it's weird if it's weird 1:00 on Wednesday. I'd say it's weird, but it could get weirder. John, before we go any further, let's tell the people about a badass company called Buck Mason. BuckMason.com/ham. Right now, you get a FREE free T-shirt with any purchase. Hell, you can buy a T-shirt, get another T-shirt free. I've been getting DMs. People have been tagging us, taking advantage of the offer. Anyone listening to this or watching this that already is a Buck Mason owner. By the way, what I got on right now, also Buck Mason. I've not worn this one since we got the sponsorship, but this was a pre-sponsorship purchase. I paid my hard-earned money for this, and I love it. You can't get this one anymore either. This one's out of production too. But Buck Mason makes fantastic stuff. Go check him out. buckmason.com/ham.
Guy, yesterday, buckmason.com/ham. I ordered $350 worth of shit.
Did you really?
Well, just because I started ordering T-shirts, I ordered several V-necks. When we got sent our stuff, I got like a button-up short sleeve shirt. It's like a good, like summertime. I had the white version. I ordered the black version, and then I ordered 2 pair of like the shorts that are like sweatpant material that I just need because I wear a lot of my workout shorts around the house, but I thought like I kind of want to separate shorts that I'll work out in and then shorts that I just lounge around the house in. And I'm like, these 2 shorts, I'm gonna lounge around the house in these things. So I got that pair, and I got the gray pair.
I want a pair of those.
Yeah, they're sweet.
Those are comfy.
They weren't $75, but boom, I'm gonna rock them both. I got the other pair too that kind of has like a gray commando look.
I like it. I am a huge fan of the Buck Mason hoodie. Huge fan of the Buck Mason hoodie. You're wearing it right now. I think it's to me the best. I think it's, what is it called? Interloop. I'm not to me, fleece gets too hot, too heavy, too fast, and my beard cuts it up. What I love about these interloops, they're not too heavy, but they're not too thin. So it's a little chilly out. You go outside, you can throw a jacket on it, no problem, but it's going to keep you warm in the house and, cool conditions. It's perfect. Very comfortable. And my thick fucking bristly hair on my neck doesn't scratch it up. So I'm a big fan of it. It's well made. You can tell it's well made. I'm a big fan of the Pima tee. I'm a big fan of a good slub tee as well. Those options are there. So whatever you get, you can just get a t-shirt. You'll get another t-shirt. They got V-necks. They got crew necks. They got straight bottom. They got tall legs. They got short legs. They got the scoops. They got the scoop bottom, which are very popular. So whatever you want, go get it. Buck, B-U-C-K, mason.com/ham. Free t-shirt. We sent you. And hey, we always love, you don't get anything extra for this, but we always love when you DM us. Just show us your order. We appreciate the support, everybody. And this is a great way to support. If you're looking for something, jump on it.
Really is. Really is. I love, I just saw some of the comments of people like, it's expensive clothes. Like, you guys living in America in 2022, right? Like, I mean, a sandwich where I live costs you $23. I pay $130 for gas. Like, I think we need to relook the times of Joan Middlekauff taking a young John Middlekauff shopping and finding a pair of pants for $7.
To Gottschalks?
Is 27 years ago. Because Gottschalks, you know what happened to them? They went under. It's like, unless you want to shop at Walmart, like, the world's changed. Now, hopefully, the world comes back to earth. The inflation, fucking not anytime soon. But like, we live at a time where things are a little more expensive. Whenever I see, but that's expensive. Like, yeah, things are really expensive right now. You either want them or you get nothing.
Well, here's what I would say too: is if you don't want $75 shorts, that's fine. I will tell you this: if you're in that club, John, this for a $38 t-shirt when you get one free, so that basically you get. It's a $20 tee. You get 2 t-shirts for $20 each. Yeah. All right. It's a high quality t-shirt. I'm telling you, the Pima tee especially, you can like wear it out on a Friday night. So if you just do that, and that's good, and it's good value, and it's way better. The quality you're getting, I mean, it's better than what you get in a Target. And 2 t-shirts for $40 is not. It's a deal.
Do you agree though, especially from a food perspective? Do you think living around the Bay for a while, you get numb to food prices that probably aren't totally normal, or is actually
for me, like anytime I pay, it's just you go, damn. I think I'm used to it, but I definitely am aware of it every time I pay it. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I remember like, my mom's from Israel. That's where she grew up. I went there I was born there. I've been back to visit a lot. When you go to another place and you see how expensive stuff is crazy expensive in some other countries. Like my mom takes cell phones over, whatever, because stuff is so expensive there. Like cars are outrageous. Have been outrageous for years.
Prius running you like 90 grand.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's just, anyway.
Like is eating out in Israel expensive?
No, the eating out is not crazy. Depends. It's like anything.
It's just the stuff, like an iPad there.
Some of the stuff. Clothes can be really expensive.
Trade embargoes?
I don't think there's embargoes, but I definitely think there's a markup.
Yeah. NATO?
Anyway. John Bougie Middlekauff. I'm a big fan of quality over quantity. Like I was talking to my neighbor about this. I'm like, hey man, look, you can get 6 t-shirts you hate or have like 3 you love. Like I just know I hate putting on t-shirts I don't like. That's all.
Yeah. Well, you ever bought like I remember a couple years ago, I mean, it's been longer than that, probably like 6, 7. Money was not, a couple $100 for a jacket is a lot of money. So like Men's Warehouse will have the deal like buy 1 sports coat and get another for free or get another half off. Mm-hmm. And when you do it, especially if you spot like your first $300 sports coat or something, you're like, whoa. But then you look back, like I look at it in my closet, and I'm like, it's a little duller. And I have another one that's like probably costs $500, which I've got within the last couple of years. It's one of those, like, whenever you buy a nice jacket, you end up only wearing it like once or twice a year. But you look at it, you're like, this is way sweeter than both those two combined. You're like, why would I wouldn't do that deal anymore, right? But you just change and adapt, and you just realize like nice things can be really, really expensive. If you wanted something nice, now you don't have to have it, right? Like I go back and forth, like I need a new watch. Now, the Rolexes they're extra marked up right now is part of it, right? Mm-hmm. Like they are because of everything going on. But if you look at like a $9,000 watch, you're like, unlike Zillow, where you're like, okay, this house is $1 million, but 2 years ago it was $400,000. Well, when you look at the Rolex, you're like, well, I can't. Was 2 years ago pre like Sleepy Joe and everything? Was this Rolex $3,000? Because if I knew that, that would throw me off. But I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't think new Rolexes were ever $3,000. I mean, they've been $3,000 25 years ago. Maybe they weren't $3,000.
You can find a $3,000 Rolex right now. But my point is, whatever.
Not new, you can't. I don't even know if you can find one used.
It's hard to find new Rolex as part of it.
But I'm just saying, I don't think they're 3,000. I don't think they were.
But
they
you know what I'm
$3,000
saying? Like,
for a long time.
a used one that's, let's say, $8,000. What was that 2 years ago? Was it 4.5?
I don't think. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't looked lately, but I don't think they were ever.
There's no Zillow website for watches.
I don't think they've been $4,000 for a long time. Is my point.
Depends what you're looking at.
Apple Watch doesn't do it for you.
No. But I haven't worn a watch in a couple of years. I just need to get I'm a grown up. I need to get a real watch.
You know what makes nice watches?
I struggle with the prices. I just don't know what to balance. Like, what is that relative?
Have you looked? You know what makes some nice watches? I think they don't pay us. I've seen a few people wearing them, and they're cool, and they're like $900, like $1,200. Shinola. Have you looked at those?
No.
Shinola. They're not bad.
See, but that's back to my jacket theory. Am I better off buying something $1,500 or $5,000?
But what I'm saying is, I think the jacket theory is a $300 watch. I think you can get a nice $1,500 watch.
You can, yeah.
I would just not. To me, my advice on watches, like, just don't buy it at Macy's.
Well, exactly.
A Movado. All due respect, if that's what you're rocking.
The only watch I've had the last decade is a Beluva, because they were like $800 and Gottschalk's was going out of business. I got it for like a $125. But was it actually an $800 watch, or did they just show that?
It was never $800, right? Like it was. Yeah. No, it probably was once $800, but it was so marked up at $800.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine.
Check out Kohl's. They have great deals on the stream. See, that's what I would say is what you should not do in this conversation. All right, John. Speaking of big money, a guy who definitely is buying himself a new Rolex, Charvarius Ward, new 49er. We are looking at his next gen stats here. Free agent signing, $26.7 million guaranteed is what the Niners paid him. His next gen stat rates, if you want them: completion percentage allowed 40%, which is number 1 in the NFL. Expected completion percentage 47, which is number 1 in the NFL. Yards per target was third at 4.6. Opponent passer rating 52.5 was third. Tight window rate 47%, which was first. So Kansas City, you know some people around the Chiefs. You know some people around the league. What's the league saying about new Niners cornerback Charvarius Ward?
I'll give you a couple. Good, really good number 2. Thought he would get around $12 million. I like him. Good press corner. Loses focus sometimes, but who doesn't at that position? Ball skills aren't great, but he's young and talented and still has room to grow. As a person, the Chiefs really like the guy. Good guy, small town kid, pretty quiet. Another just independent arbitrator who just evaluated him as a player. Really solid player, fits the Niners scheme, not a ball hawk. So now multiple people, like he is not Richard Sherman picking Deion Sanders, like that ain't his thing. Now he might make plays on the ball because he's long, he's 6'1", whatever, but he is not like high pointing balls in the air as a cornerback. Now you could argue Niners, beside what's his name's play at the end of the Rams game, but they've never seen a play like that. But he's big, tough, fast. He'll tackle. Good zone player, fits the scheme. So I think part of it is they're overpaying this player, as we talked about. You overpay in free agency several $1 million. But relative to the other crew, right, like J.C. Jackson got $13 million or $14 million more guaranteed dollars. This guy is 25 years old, been a starter for one of the best teams in the league.
Him and J.C. Jackson are interesting because they've both been in the league 4 years. They have both played about the same amount of games, 62 games for Jackson, 56 games for Ward. Both were undrafted, by the way. Ward, 43 starts. J.C. Jackson, 39 starts. Interceptions, J.C. Jackson, 25. Ward, 4.
JC, so, I would say JC is known to have elite ball skills.
I would say the numbers reflect that, yeah. And that is something the Niners have lacked, right? Is intercepting passes has not been one of the hallmarks.
That's a large difference in picks. 25 picks and 39 starts. That ratio alone is, now I know in some of those other games I bet he was nickelback playing, but that's a high number. 25 picks as a corner in 4 years.
Yep.
And I would imagine the first year as an undrafted free agent, he probably wasn't just unlimited playing time. It's really been the last couple of years. That's a lot of fucking picks. Jesus. I didn't realize that.
His 23 passes defended, J.C. Jackson led the league last year. Ward has 29 in 4 years.
Yeah, J.C. Jackson is on another level in terms of production with the ball, which is an elite skill to have. This guy is really, you paid less just to get a big body that can do what you want him to do, right? They were willing to pay less to get a big body guy who's less talented, right? Because ultimately, if you're not picking the ball off, and the other guy is, J.C. Jackson the last 2 years has 17 interceptions. Like, there's a chance Diggs, who I think had 11 last year, right, and had all those pick sixes and all the picks, he could easily go from like 11 to 3 and not even get 17 in 2 years with an 11 year. Like 17 picks in 2 years is fucking a lot. 9 and 8 back to back.
Yep. Rome on this.
But do you understand? I could see the Niners now. They don't have an unlimited cap space. $40 million for a corner who, isn't Revis or anything is just a lot to swallow. Now, I think JC's deal is like, look at my production, but they clearly passed on that because they could have been in that mix, right? If they were willing to pay a freight. Because it's not like this guy was like, well, he wasn't interested in California, Texas. He's going to L.A.
Right. Rome on the stream, why are we comparing these guys? We know JC is elite. We're comparing them just because they're in the same class, but it's a fair point. The Niners aren't signing Charvarius Ward to be J.C. Jackson, but they are signing him to be their best corner, right? That's what they just did. This guy is supposed to be their best cornerback. And I actually think if they could bring Jason Verrett back cheap and then had Ambry and Emmanuel Mosley, some people have suggested playing in the slot, that you just have finally just a solid, you're not asking Ambry. Because one of the reasons I really thought they needed to add a corner was I don't want to go into the season asking Ambry Thomas to be my number 1 or my number 2 cornerback and Emmanuel Mosley to be the other number 1 or number 2. And that's what I'm rolling into the season with. I think we've seen season after season that the Niners at cornerback need more than that. And I think you give Ambry a better chance at developing if you have somebody else who is your number 1 corner. And that's what they had.
They had to sign a starter. But there are different levels of starters, right? And I would say I'd even push back. JC's not elite. He has elite production. I don't think he's viewed as an elite player. If he was viewed as an elite player, Darrelle Revis or Richard Sherman in his prime, he gets more money than $40 million guaranteed, right? Someone gives him 65 if he was viewed as like a Hall of Fame level All-Pro for the next 5 years. He's viewed as a really good starter. This guy's a tier under him, but has been a starter on one of the best teams in the league. And for the most part, I think he had a game against Jamar Chase that got kind of ugly. But one thing, just talking to people, like he did go up against typically the other team's best corner, best wide receiver. He's not afraid. And toughness, like he does fit things the Niners really value, right? Physicality, toughness, pressing at the line of scrimmage. So this is what we talk about. Scheme fit. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
This is the second time, though, they've gone to the Kansas City well, right? I know every player is its own independent story, but they went all in on D Ford as a pass rusher, and they're still paying him, right? And they did this. Like, those are two of the bigger investments, homegrown guy, wouldn't you say, that the Niners have done under the Kyle John regime? He got like $40 million, and this guy got 20. I mean, that's a lot of money to give two free agents, and they had a trade for D Ford.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's a negative that Kansas City, that you get a player from Kansas City, high level operation, right? Been in big games.
They like him.
Played against Mahomes in practice, in theory, or whoever their back scout team offense. I don't know. I'm making stuff up now, but I think it's a good thing. I mean, I think high level is high level organization, high level guy, undrafted for a different reason than J.C. Jackson, right? J.C. Jackson was undrafted because of off the field concerns. This guy was just undrafted. Middle Tennessee State, ran a 4.4 4.40. Not at the combine. Did not go to the combine.
Which is a little. I'll have to do some digging, because I would say it's probably a lot to do with his school, because it's over 6 feet tall, running in the 4.4s. A guy like that usually getting a combine invite. Like, I bet if you ask some people, like, they'd like a do-over. I mean, clearly. I mean, he's been starting. Like, the combine, they missed on this guy, right? The NFL missed on this player. And it might just be as simple as tiny little school. But I remember this vividly during the draft preparation, working in the office. Small school guys, quote-unquote HWS, height, weight, speed, the moment they do something like this, you run 4.4 at over 6 foot at corner, that would, every team in the league would get updated on that before the draft. Like, he had to be on people's radar. A little surprised he didn't get drafted in the seventh
I mean,
round.
again, I wikied him, so maybe his 4.44 was not even a Middle Tennessee State.
I'm looking at that too. All values from the Middle Tennessee State Pro Day. Here's the other thing, Guy.
So weird.
The Cowboys signed Ward as an undrafted free agent. The Chiefs ended up getting him.
They traded for him before the season.
This is a good scouting job by Veach, man. They flipped. The Chiefs landed him August 30th, so basically right before the white waiver claim, because they probably, I'm sure, realized this guy's gonna get claimed. They flipped some random offensive guard that you've never heard of and landed their starting corner.
So the Cowboys had too many corners, but needed a backup guard or something like that.
Yep, and the Chiefs we like this guy.
So they watched him play however many snaps he played in the preseason that year for Dallas.
That's fucking some scouting right there.
Didn't even have to trade a pick for him. That's impressive. And they probably traded a guard they were going to cut anyway.
Yeah, 100%. This guy's such an underrated prospect. The NFLPA Collegiate Bowl is easily of the bowls, right? The Senior Bowl is the best. Then there's the East-West Shrine Game, which is more like 5th, 6th, 7th round picks. This Collegiate NFLPA Bowl is kind of a joke.
That's the one. Is that in Vegas, right?
I think it was this year. When I was doing it, used to be at wherever the soccer team, where the Dean Spanos played for a couple years.
Carson.
In Long Beach. Yeah, Carson. That's what, to me, this guy's story is very NFL, right?
Yeah.
Small school guy, undrafted free agent, goes to the right team, sweet team, is like, damn, this guy's fucking 6 feet, can run, he's a starter. All of a sudden, he gets a big contract. Like, that just does not happen in these other sports, because it's hard to even just survive. As an undrafted free agent, you and I have been going to camp long enough. Honestly, once camp starts, like, it's pretty easy to stand out as an undrafted free. Like, you get every opportunity as like a 5th rounder does, right? You're in the group with them, repping around.
Well, that's where I would put. He's DJ Jones. The DJ was not undrafted. He was a 6th round pick, but I'd say very similar, right?
Yeah.
You do it with your guy. You let him go, and someone else pays him, and then you pay somebody else's guy who's in the same boat.
It's not debatable that you get more chances for being a high pick. No one would argue that, and I think it makes older guys in the NFL that were later round draft picks gets them mad sometimes. That's true. Just because when you have a good draft grade, you just are going to get more chances. But it's pretty irrelevant where you start. Not necessarily with the team where you start matters because scheme and stuff. But in terms of, you can be a 6th round pick, you can be a 7th round pick, you get an undrafted free agent. If you're good enough, you will get a big contract. Period, point blank. There's no way around it. If you become a starter,
Yeah.
either
If
that
you
team will have to
gotta
pay
get on
you,
the
or
field,
you'll hit
though.
for. You got to get on the field. But the NFL of all the sports is the easiest to get on the field because there's just guys get injured, carnage, right? People, a lot of transactions during the season. If you're a backup DB, you are not far away from starting half the season, right?
Right.
Hell, we saw it with the Niners. All of a sudden,
But being
it's
a
like,
backup
this guy-
DB it's hard to get to that spot, right?
Well, yeah, it's
gotta get to
training
that
camp's
spot.
very difficult. Like you got to win it over. But if you're able to get through that kind of war zone of competition and get to just make the roster, if you can make the roster, you are pretty close to playing. Now, obviously, this guy and DJ Jones are like the high-end version of the people we're talking about. But you can have a 7-8 year career, even if it's making a couple $1 million, just like this guy's a functional starter. Like
Well, to
DJ
me,
Jones is viewed as like a good starter.
Charvarius Ward, DJ Jones are the dream. Like they are the guys who go in the 6th or undrafted idolize. That's the guy. I want that career path right there. And I do think being on good teams kind of helps you sometimes if you're cheap.
It really does.
Because they have expensive players.
Yeah.
Right. So you can have a roster spot just by being functional. There's other better players around you. They feel a little better putting you on the field.
I'd even say
Sometimes
this.
you get some of these small school guys, later round guys they're really smart, right?
See that to me, that's I forgot where DJ Jones went to Ole Miss. Now he was undersized, but it's like SEC guy. I bet everyone in the league knew about him. Chavarius, how do you say his name?
I don't know how much you pronounce
Ward.
that first R.
How about C Ward?
Charvarius C Ward.
My guy C Ward. To me, the difference, like if you do play at UCLA or Texas, even if they're down, like you're just having so many people come through. When you play at like Weber State or Middle Tennessee or some of these random schools, like there is a chance if they don't view anyone on your team as a prospect, no one really comes through all year. Like, is anyone going to see me?
Right.
It has to cross your mind. Like, am I going to, if you're playing at Ole Miss,
That's why you hop in the portal.
Every day you look at Ole Miss, you're like, fuck, there's 17 scouts here. Is this guy in the portal now? Like, is the SEC calling this guy? How'd you even find out about him? You need to have a friend on his team, but remember Jimmy Ward and those guys that played at like South Al, like are those guys in the portal pretty fast? Tart, which honestly could even hurt the smaller schools more, that these guys are just going to end up in Power 5 teams by the time they're sophomores.
On the stream, it's like Tarvarius, but it starts with a ch instead. Charvarius.
I like that. Because Tarvarius is pretty easy to say.
Yeah.
Charvarius.
By the way, Tyrod Taylor has signed, John, with the... Did you want to guess? Or will sign. He hasn't consummated yet. Consummation sensation happens. The consummation orgy happens on Wednesday.
Mike McDaniel's just going big on backup quarterbacks. No. I actually have a team for you. Because they're missing it. Their quarterback just left as a back. The Buffalo Bills.
No, good guess. The Giants. 2 years, $17 million, including $8.5 guaranteed. Says $8.5 million guaranteed. Says Shefty.
I think Mitchell knew similar money, right, between the two guys. It's a little bit of a rigged game in New York, even if my guy Dable's like, hey, man, I want you to start. Where you kind of know, like, they're really going to start Daniel Jones and you need it. Like, you get to start for the Steelers. You know, like in OTAs, like, you're the guy under center in OTAs. So the money's the same. You get to be the starting quarterback for the Steelers, who might be good. This team probably is going to suck. And really, you're going to have to take reps behind this guy because they drafted him number 6 overall. Like, Mason Rudolph, good-looking guy, not good player. Mitchell, you're going to start. That had to be a pretty easy decision by Mitchell.
I think so.
Because it's the same money, right? They got the pretty much same contract.
He just watched the Steelers go to the playoffs with Big Ben last year. Right?
I don't think the Steelers will be back in the playoffs, though, with Mitchell.
I don't expect it. On the stream, Trubisky fixing to die behind that O-line.
He can move.
Lancelot, why don't these guys have super chat? Just ask it. You want to ask you something, Lancelot? Fire away, and then go buy a Buck Mason t-shirt. We appreciate you being here. Thanks to everybody for being here.
Why does everyone want to give us money?
I appreciate it. I mean, I don't know. There was something else.
What if we did super chat? They think we're bougie. Super chat minimum $99.99. Do you think we get any super chats? Like
Would
I
there be
don't want
a
your
group of super
$3.99.
chats?
Keep it. You use that for a gallon of gas or half a gallon of gas.
By the way, Bob Sacamano on our discussion earlier about who we should pick in the first four. The first four games are being played in Dayton. Wright State's campus is in Dayton, so it's a home game for Wright State.
Well, we've gone with the other
Against
team. I already
Bryant.
placed the bet. So.
On the stream, feel like we should have taken JC over Ward. Not a big price difference. Not in the AAV, right? But in the guaranteed dollars, there is 14. What did we say? 40 versus 26.7.
I mean, isn't that basically an extra year of work if it's not going well?
Yeah. Chris Biederman must be watching the stream. He just texted me. Charvarius Ward played with Richie James at Middle Tennessee State.
See, Middle Tennessee is producing some guys. So maybe I think it's fair to say then they've scouted that school. They feel comfortable with the character. Now, the character's good, I think.
You think they went to Middle Tennessee State to scout Richie James, or they just found
Well,
Richie James after the fact?
I would guess that their scout has a relationship. Once you sign Richie James, like you're swinging through that school.
Yeah, you might.
Right?
Maybe the Niners did the Niners try to get him from Dallas? Were the Niners waiting for him to get cut 4 years ago by Dallas, and instead they traded him to Kansas City because
the
Veach
Niners
knew
scouted him for sure, guy. They drafted Richie James in the 7th round
in that year?
in 2018, so it would have been the year after. So I wonder once Ward makes the Chiefs, starts for the Chiefs, who at the time were obviously, still good, but they were good. It's like, we might need to keep an eye on this whole Middle Tennessee State. And then they had a guy drafted the following year. That's a pretty good couple-year stretch by Middle Tennessee State. Holy shit. Is there any doubt in your mind that those two guys are on the wall when you walk into their football facility?
No doubt at all.
Niner helmet, Chiefs. I think Richie got hurt. He did get hurt. Richie came out early. Richie was 3 and done at Middle Tennessee State. I wonder if he got in trouble or something.
Not a transfer?
Uh,
David C., we also want to know what you think of Encanto. Can't tell you yet. I've not watched that. We don't talk about Elvis. What's the name of that song? First Disney song, I think, to make it on the #1 Billboard chart since like Little Mermaid.
There's a Disney song right now on the Billboard charts?
It was like 2 weeks ago, I remember, because I saw it on Twitter. I'm like, what is everybody talking about? It's like a Disney movie. There's a song, which anyone, I guess, with kids would probably know the song. I don't. It's called We Don't Talk About Bruno. That's what it is. I listened to it once. I'm like, what? This song's hot. And I listened to it. I'm like, okay, this song is not for me.
How do the Billboard charts work anymore? Like,
Don't
not
know.
on
Sales,
the radio.
plays, spins.
Yeah. Spotify plays. I think you can see the plays on Spotify and songs.
Gotcha. John, free agent idea for you. And boy, you're going to love this. Shanahan's not going to like this idea, but you're going to like this. The Rams are expected to release Johnny Hecker, who was about to make, I think, over $3 million. I think his contract was like a 5-year, $18 million contract signed a few years ago. And the Rams are going to release him. I mean, this is a all-pro. The Niners did not have great special teams last year. And they have a very cheap punter who they drafted on their roster, Mitch Wishnowsky. But I did a little digging. And Johnny Hecker's still an elite punter based on my research. Johnny Hecker allowed, get ready for this number. You don't have to know much about special teams to know this is good. 9 total returns last year. I don't even need to tell you how many most people give up. Wishnowsky allowed 26 returns. I don't know what the average is, but when I went looking through all the punting stats, which I did, 25, 30, 35 returns, that's pretty typical.
Counter Stafford threw a bunch of picks, so that's probably 10 punts away.
Fair. 60 total punt return yards against Johnny Hecker this year. 60.
That's pretty nuts.
He was also second in the NFL with 25 fair catches. 25 fair catches. Okay. So that's a lot. So your theory is, well, he never punted. Well, he did punt. 25 fair catches was the second most in the league.
Big hang time guy.
Big hang. I don't know what his timing was. Now you could argue, here Andre says, how often did he punt? I got to go back and look, but I think he had like 3 or 4 more punts than Wishnowsky. It was not that far different.
Yeah.
Now you could argue, well, how much is he going to cost? Is he going to cost 3 times what you're paying Mitch Wishnowsky on the last year of his rookie contract? He's making under $1 million, and you drafted him. And my argument would just be this: you're about to go into the year with Trey Lance as your quarterback, probably. And if you go into the year with Trey Lance as your quarterback, you are you might play a style of game that doesn't leave you a lot of margin for error. And he's not a rookie, but we're calling him a semi-rookie. And so your special teams game, which hurt you last year in a season that you didn't have a lot of room for error, it almost killed you, and then somehow it saved you, is going to be a critical part, actually,
Hightower,
of your season. Actually, Hightower should sign. Honestly, Hecker, I'm not even kidding there. I thought the Bears should be aggressive with him. So are the Niners in a position to increase their punter spend by probably 3 times to upgrade that position? By the way, at a time when, people are punting less and less and less.
Yeah, my issue with that is he's made basically well over $3 million now. He's been a $3 million punter since McVay got there.
Yep.
Obviously, he was on the team with Jeff Fisher, but he's been making 3.2, 3.5, 3.7. So let's just say he's a $3.5 million punter. You got to factor in the room. Your kicker makes $4 million, and he's worth it. Like Robbie Gould, feel good about him in a weird way. Massive comeback, you feel good. $4 million. You're gonna have a $7.5 million battery between your kicker and your punter.
Same cost as your quarterback. Right, that's what Trey's making.
I'd say that's where you get the problem. I think ideally you need one of the two guys to be cheap. Now, and listen, I'm no Bobby April Jr. here, but I thought Wisnowski was pretty bad last year. Eye test, couch scouting, I'm like Kyle, not that into it, but it felt like he was not good. I was at the game, and I didn't realize this. You would text me like, bro, he just got knocked out when Robbie Gould had to punt with their season and just livelihoods and respect on the line.
Clutch punt.
He punted.
He had the clutch punt, John, not just punt.
Yeah,
he had the clutch punt in his own territory.
I even think he said most after the game he hadn't punted since high school or whatever. Like, obviously it was a freak circumstance, but that's not ideal when it's like you don't really notice that big of a difference. So, yeah, could you upgrade 100%? I just think financially, can you afford to have $7 million going into 2 guys in the special teams room?
Fair.
I would be very interested if your kicker was a $1 million guy. And you go, oh, well, the room would be $4 million. You agree, though, that if he's going to cost you 3.5, which I would imagine people are going to be bidding toward his services.
Right. He's still one of the best in the league.
People like
David
punters.
on the stream, don't need Hecker, Matt Reza, punt god.
Dude from San Diego State?
Yeah. What round is he getting drafted in?
Well, I mean, it's like
5th?
Jason Light tried to fucking change the landscape of kickers and punters, and then it did not go well. And
we took him in the second. Wasn't Aguayo a second-round pick?
Yeah, but he shattered all the records. He had never missed.
Different between a kicker and a punter.
There is, because it's hard to fuck up in training camp. Remember the training camps? Like, Aguayo, this is not going well. Remember you just miss kick after kick in training camp? Twitter ruined Aguayo.
I know. I felt bad about that. I didn't participate. Nate on the stream says Matt from San Diego State can do both. Robbie Gould have they had to find a random kicker for a week or two every year? Feels like it may not actually be true, but
he's had a few injuries. I mean,
if my punter can hit a few field goals, that would not be the worst thing in the world.
I mean, Robbie Gould is, with Whitworth bowing out today, I would imagine the second guy over 40 in the NFL, him and Tom. He's Brady. 40 years old.
Yeah.
Robbie is 40.
How is what round did Mitch? Wasn't Mitch in the 5th round?
I thought the 4th.
I mean, if he was in the 4th, Areza, I'm not actually sure how to say his last name, but I've seen him. Areza. It's not Areza.
I think he's viewed as like one of the best prospects. Third
round,
Areza's
still in
feels
the league, by the way. Yeah, he's not going in the 7th round.
But you can't take a punter or kicker in the 3rd round, can you? Robbie's on the team, guy. I mean, he's got a dead cap. I mean, he's.
I'm not getting rid of Robbie. I'm just saying, would you draft another punter in your mind that you're not re-signing Wishnowsky? And I think Wishnowsky's dead cap, I got to check. I think it's like $90,000.
People forget. It's a long time ago, and we live in a just what happened lately. When he was drafted, we did a pod because that obviously the draft
Fourth round, says Beard.
on Saturday, and then we did a pod on Sunday. It was on the internet streets. You remember it was pretty controversial.
Very.
A lot of people thought it was insanity, and we were like, guys, it's just a punter, starting punter, third day of the draft, who cares? People were not feeling it. If they doubled down again, they'd be like, well, we just did this. It's like, yeah, this guy's way better.
190,000 would be Mitch's dead cap.
I think I want to call him Trubisky. Wisnowski's on the team.
Same agent as Trubisky.
Does have Tolner?
Yeah.
Tolner feasts on the Pac-12 guys, West Coast guys, even small school like North Dakota State. Carson there.
Mocks have Matt going in the 7th round. All right.
I have a hard time thinking that.
It'd be better than a 3rd round running back last year, says David.
I feel like we overreact a little bit on the draft after one season. You got to give it a little time.
Yeah, I mean, you would say this if you're going to have a shot, you would think Kyle could find a way. Laramie Tunsil staying in Houston. Can we get a little flurry? Can we rattle off some free agency news here?
Slow down a little, huh?
Tyrod back, mentioned that. Cowboys, Rams, and Browns are all competing for Von Miller, says Aaron Wilson. Marquise Haynes to the Panthers. The Niners have the last pick of the 7th round. I think they do.
Mr. Irrelevant?
Yeah. Who still gets a parade in Southern California. Pelissaro. The comps.
A lot of randos in the... One thing's pretty clear.
Young Hoku gets a 5-year, $25 million contract.
I do like that guy. One thing that's clear about the older dudes, I think Vaughn, Chandler, and Gilmore are good examples. Guys that have seen the mountaintop, been alphas at the Pro Bowl, are like, wait, we just don't get to write whatever number we want on the piece of paper, and you guys say yes? That's not how it works once you get over 30? I can imagine some of the numbers their agents, the conversation the agents has with team, and then the conversation that Chandler Jones, Von Miller, and Gilmore are getting from their agent, it's probably some stuff gets lost in translation of hey, bro, we're not paying your client that much money. This isn't 2017.
Comp picks, John. 97. So Niners get 102, 105. Those are 3rd round comps. They get 200 and 221. Those are 6th round comps. Niners got pick 262, the last comp pick of the 7th round. So
take a swing.
Yeah. Somebody else said Albright is saying Jimmy might be in play in Cleveland.
If they get rid of Baker.
Makes some sense, right?
If they get Deshaun, they trade Baker, and then they need
if they just don't get Deshaun, but are just done with Baker. Are they that done with Baker? They could be.
Does it feel like they might sneaky hate Baker like the Colts hated Wentz? They've just been a little more tight-lipped about it? Because they know they might be stuck with him?
/ the money just makes it really complicated. What are we going to do here?
Ultimately, $18 million. Carson was going to make 35.
Albright's saying no. That's all. He said no chance that Watson goes to the Browns.
I'd agree with that. Doesn't feel like, even though from a football standpoint, I think they would immediately be good. Obviously, just feels like Deshaun and Mulgeta want who knows?
They want to be in the bright lights,
but are the Panthers the bright lights? That's why they want.
No, it's really a weird collection.
Are the Eagles sleeping, sneaking around here? They just don't want it out there because they don't want to keep fighting off the Jalen, or maybe they're out. It's hard to tell who's in and out.
Wouldn't be a terrible theory if you're we'll just let him meet with the teams that want him and realize he doesn't want to play for them, and then we swoop in. But you have to deal with the compensation with Houston too. That's the other part of this.
If you're the Texans, you just pray to God that the Panthers get this done because you get their 1st and their 2nd round pick this year, and their draft's pretty good, right? It's the 6th pick.
Yeah.
So you immediately get 2 sweet picks.
Right. The Texans are kind of hands off the wheel because Deshaun has the no trade clause.
I think if you're the Texans, you just don't want it. You just want him in the top 10 with a shitty team. You take Atlanta. I think Atlanta's draft in the top 10. You do that too.
Al says Cleveland gets Watson, then trade Baker to the Panthers.
Why would the Panthers?
But Panthers could end up in some real QB purgatory.
But they're already in.
Yeah, they are already in. So, all right. As news breaks, we are here. If it breaks, and although no one got out of bed, Middlekauff didn't get out of bed for Charvarius Ward last night.
Well, you didn't text me either, so I just didn't even care that much.
I was in bed. I saw it, and I'm like, is Middlekauff going to text me and ask me if I want to do a video?
I didn't care.
DJ Jones to the Broncos. Sound the alarm. Your orbit has just been sighted.
I didn't give a shit.
All right. Thanks for hanging with us, everybody. Appreciate everybody on the stream. If you're hanging out here, hit that like button. Anything else we got to get to, Middlekauff, before people are hanging? So, you know.
We'll be back tomorrow talking Jimmy when he gets traded.
Yeah. We've got NCAA tournaments underway. So
let's go watch it.
All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging. We appreciate you. If you like the video, like the video. If you're on the podcast, check out the YouTube. Leave us a review on iTunes, Apple Music. If you're listening to this pod right now, 5 stars. We appreciate that. Ask us a question, any question. And tell us your favorite bar.
True TV.
True TV. Is that what it is right now?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. You're right. It is. Actually, all the first 4 games are on True TV. Later, everybody.
Peace.